Hello and welcome to another episode of West Underground. Today is a very special interview indeed, ladies and gentlemen, because we have Fireglow joined us today, and I'm very excited for this interview. I was just saying to you boys before we started this, I almost wish we'd done this earlier with you guys, because I've seen you guys live. You're a fantastic live band, a funny live band too. We'll have to talk about that a bit later, but I just want to throw the mic over to you boys and just ask straight off the bat, I suppose, how did you guys start, the band?
Yeah, good question. We sort of got together in about 2018, sort of midway through then. And my mate and I, so Chris, the lead guitarist of the band, we've been playing together for years. And we thought we'll have one more crack at, starting a band. And we put the ad out there on Facebook, photo of a Fender Stratocaster and Rickenbacker, and thankfully the stars aligned and Bruno managed to see that ad. Bruno?
Well, I saw the guitar, to be honest with you. When I saw the Rickenbacker, I said, well, that sounds like, it has to be a good stuff. So I've checked out and I liked it. And me and Frankie, which is the drummer, my second wife, we've been playing together for a long time as well. So we left another band that we were in before, and he was playing in another band, but we really wanted to keep going playing together. So I said, well, these guys are looking for a drum and bass. I listened to the song and said, oh, this is cool. So we jammed together. And the first jam we did was just like, wow, that's it. We are doing this. And that's the rest is history, isn't it?
As they say.
Wow, that's a great story. I'm so glad that the Rickenbacker, drew you in from the start.
And it's all about the Rick. Yeah, it's right behind me actually. It wants to be part of the interview as well. Yeah. But it's funny because it's not just a Rickenbacker, but it's a Maple Glow, and so Bruno happens to have a Maple Glow Rickenbacker bass. So I remember that was one of the first things that we noticed. We thought, oh wow, we've both got a Maple Glow Rickenbacker. So. Yeah, we still do. We still have it.
And while we're continuing about, talking about Rickenbackers, I think it's important to bring up the Beatles. Like, they were the first people I'd ever seen play Rickenbackers, and I thought, bloody hell, that's a strange guitar John's holding, but I kind of want one. And and speaking of the Beatles, like, your sound is very reminiscent of the Beatles. Like, were they a huge influence to all of you, like, individually?
I think so. Go, Bruno.
Well, I've got the Yellow Submarine here, and I'm a huge Beatles fan. So, I've done, I went to Liverpool a couple of times just to go around and see the places. I love the Beatles. Like, for me, it's the best band that ever existed. But I like a lot of other stuff as well. But I think Sean and Chris are in the same path, but they also big Tom Petty fan and stuff like that. Well, the drummer was not a Beatles fan at all. And it's funny because now we recorded Rain during this lockdown thing. There's a really cool video on our page for Rain. And he started to play and he was like, wow, this is really cool. And I said, well, I always try to tell you, but you never listen. Go, Sean.
No, you're right. I mean, I think it was the Beatles who really popularized the Rickenbacker, the brand. They'd been around, but my understanding is, they at the time they didn't really have a lot of access to, say, Fender or Gibson, which they, may very well have gone for if they could. But I love the Rickenbacker, and as for the Beatles, well, I regard them as the greatest music act. I mean, there's lots of great bands, but no one can compete with them in terms of the sheer quality and quantity of the music. So huge impact on us as a band. And individually, they certainly changed my life. I didn't really play music until I heard the Beatles. And I remember it was Sgt. Pepper. I put that on and literally, not lying, my jaw dropped. I was just, wow. I couldn't believe how good the sound was. I just loved it. So I'll never forget that. And so that has been a thing that we have in common. Certainly with Bruno, we love the Beatles. But as he said, there's a huge range of influences there as well.
Wow, that's amazing, guys. I'm also a huge Beatle fan. I lived in Dubbo as a kid growing up, and I suppose I thought the Beatles was still a current band when I was a kid. Like, you know, their teachers asked, who's your favorite, music act? And you had to do like a show and tell. And I said, oh, I love the Beatles. I want to see the Beatles. And my teacher had to like sit me down and say, Hamish, and deliver me the bad news, which broke my heart from that day on.
Oh God.
It sounded like the Santa Claus story of the truth. Sounds like, because she had to sit you down like, oh, look, Hamish.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Like it just broke my heart. She's like, well, you might be lucky enough to see Paul, or, and I was like, what? There's something that, what? Yeah, because I mean, like as a pop culture act, you can't, the legacy of the Beatles. You've got the yellow submarine on your arm. I went into like a toy shop, and you can buy like Lego submarine Lego and stuff now. It's almost like they're still, current, even how many years after.
Well, look, it might surprise you to know I'm not a professional musician. I'm actually a history teacher, and we teach popular culture. That's one of the units that we do. And you can imagine, my love of teaching that topic. And I basically just teach them the Beatles. And it's certainly a big part of the topic to teach the Beatles when they came to Australia as a huge or cultural event for Australian audiences, and the impact that had. I mean, even a few years ago, it was actually 2014, they had an exhibit at the Maritime Museum commemorating 50 years since the Beatles visited. I mean, wow. What other band would they have in 50 years' time? A museum exhibit on when they came. Maybe Fireglow, but apart from that, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's just funny, like how it goes on and on, because I've got two kids, and they're both drummers, and one is 7, one is 9, and they both love the Beatles. And it's the same thing. Like for them, they didn't have the idea that the band was already finished. They just like the music. When I said, no, this is old music. Two of them are dead. Really? I said, yeah. I said, maybe we can sip on my cup. And they go, well, that's something. I said, yeah.
I've got a question for you, Sean. I am all for a music class that does history of rock, like a history subject of the history, like someone like a character like Jack Black teaching it. Like, the history of rock, and he just goes through the years, the theory and the practical side of it. I reckon that'd be a great subject, because it's true. Like there is a history of music that, you go through the timelines of different bands and all. I reckon it should be a real subject.
I agree. I had a teacher at uni, and his name's Bernie Howard, and he's actually quite well known in certainly the history teaching fraternity and society and culture, but also in popular culture in Australia, like rock music. You may have heard of him. I don't know. He does go by other names as well. Just sort of, he's a bit like that. And he used to swear that he could teach all of history through popular culture. And he would make the point that if you look at what was popular in terms of music or art at a time, and it reveals a lot about the society at the time. So he was really passionate about that. I loved him. He was a great teacher. Unfortunately, it doesn't say much about today's society when it's all about other stuff. I mean, we don't want to knock other people's music, but it's not quite the Beatles in the 60s. That's certainly true.
Yeah, there's definitely a lack of something, lack of magic, at the moment. But, I was going to ask too, like while we're still on this topic, you and your guitarist have fantastic harmonies. Like how long did it take to practice that and get it, down?
Thank you. Yeah, we're still working on them. But look, that's something that we always wanted to do, actually. We never wanted to be a band that, didn't sing sort of in unison. A lot of the music we loved had harmonies, obviously the Beatles, but even like Eagles and just any of those bands, they have harmonies. So it was always something we wanted to do. And certainly I'd say in more recent times, we've really sort of taken it to the next level. We've really it took us a long time to see ourselves as singers, I think. And certainly with this band, it's made us realize, well, we really do need to see ourselves in that way. But yeah, thanks for the kind words. I think we're okay. I think we're getting better.
I think you guys are bloody brilliant at it. I just sat there with my jaw on the floor watching that. I was like, you know, you're playing in time, you're singing. It's perfect. You've lined it up really well, and I was like, that's so hard to do. You must have spent a lot of time sitting together in a hallway or something and just trying to get that going.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. But you know, we have been playing together for a long time.
Yeah.
So and I think our voices complement each other as well. We've got very different styles of singing, and they just work together, I think. But certainly, you know, Bruno and Frankie have pushed us to be better at that as well. So thank you. Good to know we're doing something right.
Oh man, absolutely. You know, if you guys, if you guys keep going with this, I'm scared to kind of see how good it'll get in the future. In the future. But yeah, Bruno, like, did you have anything to add to that? Like when they started, have you seen it, kind of the development of the harmonies? Were they a bit rough to start with? And
no, absolutely. Like, especially because I can't sing, for God's sake. So when I heard that singing, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And coming from the same background as they do, which I love music with harmony, I saw a big potential there, because two things like that I really do love in this band is the harmonies that they can sing, but not just that. We have two songwriters. That means they are always singing on each other's songs, and the songwriting is quite different. So it brings a lot of variety for me and the drama. We just go like, wow, the songs are very different from each other. And for us, it's like so good because we have to work in things that are completely different from each other, but has the unity to bring it together through the singing, because the harmonies are always there. The songs can be a bit different, but that's sort of the trademark, because it's always in every song.
Yeah.
Such a gentleman, Bruno. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sean. Talk later.
And Bruno, you touched on a little bit of like the songwriting experience. Now, is it just you two guys, Sean and I've just forgotten your guitarist name off my head. Chris. Yeah. Is it just you two sitting down and writing the songs, and then do you bring them to the band? Like, do you write sometimes with the band, or how's it go?
So far the process has been, the songs that we've written and we bring them to the band. But the evolution of the band is such that we're starting to collaborate a bit more. There is a song that, for example, there's a song called Modern Life that actually started with Bruno's bass line.
Yeah,
he sent us this bass line, and I think it was probably within a couple of hours, Chris had made it into a song. So that's one example of a process where it was a little bit different. But on the whole, I mean, you talk about the Beatles. We are not the Beatles, but having, we're influenced by this idea that you can have two singers in a band and you can have two songwriters in a band, and as Bruno said, it gives a lot of variety, which is good. But looking forward to doing a different kind of collaboration as well. Working on other songs, jamming a bit more.
I think with the lockdown process, like it was a good thing for us. We all had to learn how to record at home. So I was not really good at it. Frankie, for recording drums is a bit more tricky, but he actually had a unit that's a Yamaha unit that he started to use it, and the sound was pretty good. So we said, well, we can do much more now, like, because I had a song another day that I had the whole guitar done in my head. So I lay it down, I sent to Frankie, he recorded the drum. So now we can do the things, I can have like I'm not really good in lyrics, but I can have the whole song as Modern Life was. I had the whole track in my head of the bass. So I recorded, sent it to Chris. It was actually probably 1 hour. He sent me back the song and I was like, oh, what the hell? And then we took it to the band. But with this lockdown, we all learned a bit more how to record. So I think it's been really good in this sense.
Wow, man, that's amazing. And are you guys all recording on Logic, Pro Tools? What's kind of been your individual poisons, I suppose, for recording?
It's an addiction. That's certainly true. Chris and I sort of use Reaper, and I think that's what he's got Bruno onto. Bruno, I think, has chewed Chris's ear a lot in this lockdown. How do we do it? But he's done well. So we use Reaper, but I used to use Pro Tools. like Bruno said, Frankie's got a whole other thing going on. He's got some little app that goes onto his phone. So very proud of Frankie. Frankie's done very well to do that. To record drums very well is fantastic. But look, on that point, Chris and I, for as long as I can remember, have always recorded at home. I can't imagine not recording at home. We've always done, and he's taught me a lot about all that. And I mean, with all the songs that we've done so far, Chris has even he mixed them. He mixes and masters those as well. So he's really into it. He's more into it than I am. But at the same time, I think I was saying this to Bruno the other day. Recording at home it's really one of the best things you can do to become a better musician. You hear yourself back instantly, especially for me with the vocals. I used to hate recording vocals, but I actually quite enjoy it now because it's made me better. Because you hear yourself and you think, oh, I'm out there or whatever it is. And it makes you more creative too. You can lay down a track and then just play over it and try different things. So yeah, a huge part of the creative process is recording for us, definitely.
Do you have moments where you get sucked into the void of the home studio world?
You know it, yeah. You can waste hours doing it. But at the same time, you could either waste hours doing something creative or doing something else that's not as creative. So as long as you're being creative, I think this is what I've said this to Frankie recently, because when he's recording his drums, you want it to be simple though. All the home studio stuff needs to be good, but you don't want to detract from the creativity. You want to just be able to set it up and give a good performance. Because at the end of the day, you might not have the best microphone or the best computer or whatever it is. That's not the secret to a great recording. The secret to a great recording is the performance. If you don't give, you could have the great, you can have, $5,000 guitar, and if you can't play it well, it's going to be a bad recording. Yeah. Whereas, play on a cheaper guitar, cheaper microphone. If you give a good performance, it's going to sound good.
100%. What you just said was when I went to university, we had one of our lecturers was a guy that used to work at, for Virgin Records, and he cut all these bands, and he just said, like, that is how you get the best result. If I had some, hotshot band from Sydney come into my thing, I wouldn't hook up, the $10,000 microphones or that. It would just be very, very simple, just to capture their sound and not make it feel like just so the performance is killer.
Yeah, that would be my philosophy as well. I mean, it is nice to have good equipment. That certainly helps, but it's the performance. You could bring in Jimmy Barnes into your home studio, give him an average microphone, he's going to make it sound awesome because he's awesome. And that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, man, for sure. And one more thing I want to touch on the songwriting process for you guys. Do you will you just write a whole song yourself and have an idea, have a structure, have the melody worked out and the chords? Will then you take it to Chris and he will have a look over it and say, will you do that differently? Will you do that differently? And then do you go to the band, or do you kind of do that in the band practice and rehearsals? Do you critique it there and fine tune it?
I guess simple answer is no. Now we don't do a lot of that stuff. There's not a lot of. Chris and I did once try to sit down and say, let's write a song. Yeah. And it didn't work for us. So our approach is normally I will write the song on my own, he'll write a song on his own. And that's pretty much it. We'll write the chords, the lyrics, often the structure as well.
Yeah.
And then we bring it to the band. We might record a demo and give it to Bruno and Frankie and give it to the rest of the band.
But during the rehearsals, like we normally work on those beats and we can change things around in the rehearsal, saying, well, what about we do this twice, or we take this back and forward, or so that's when we get creative with the song. Most of the times it's nearly there anyway, but when they listen with our parts, it's going to sound different because I'm putting my beat, Frank is putting his beat, and always comes new ideas as well. And It's been.
No, I
Really
agree. I was going to say that, you know, the song itself, like chords and lyrics, we'll write, but then we bring it to the band, and it always sounds better.
Yeah.
Always sounds better. I mean, in the past, I have recorded a demo with, you know, drum and bass as well, but it's as Frankie would say, it's meat and potato drums. You know, it's just really basic. I'm not trying to pretend I'm a drummer, and same with the bass. So, I mean, just the other day, I sent a song to Bruno and Frankie, and the bass line that Bruno's put on, I could never even imagine. So, absolutely, it then becomes a collaborative process once it's with the band. But
Yeah.
the initial song, there's not a lot of collaboration between Chris and I. You know, you imagine, you know, songwriters, a team of songwriters that get together and write a verse, and then someone, you know, will add some lyrics, and we tend to not do a lot of that. There's a little bit here and there. You know, there've probably been some examples where I've suggested, you know, or maybe try that lyric instead,
Yeah.
and it works. Or and even like, I mean, you know, you could say some songs. So I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I had a train of thought and I've lost it, but you know, there are songs where I play a part that Chris has come up with on his song, and he'll play parts that I've actually come up with. So there's no, oh, I came up with that riff, so I'm going to play it. There's a lot of collaboration in that sense as well.
Yeah. Wow, man. Have you ever put one together? Like you've kind of had half one, you know, finished one, and you've
yes, yes, we have. So it hasn't happened often, but yeah, just last year we actually had it. So Chris had an idea of a song. It was just a riff, but a really nice, cool riff, and it kind of followed a chord structure. And he couldn't do anything with it, or he just wasn't in the frame of mind to do anything with it. And because we recorded home, he sent it over to me, and something about it, you know, made me fall in love with it. I thought this could be something, and I did write sort of some lyrics to it and a tune. And so that's one occasion. It's a very rare occasion where we actually have done that, and it worked. So, like I was saying before, we're definitely looking forward to writing songs in different ways, because you can only, it's more fun that way, actually. I don't know how you find it, but you know, when you're jamming on your guitar or whatever it is, keyboard, you'll have so many ideas that come into your head, and you might record it quickly, but you know, life gets in the way, and you just sort of don't get to come back to it.
Yeah.
So whereas often, you know, what we really should be doing is, you know, okay, that's an idea I've got. I should send it off to Chris or Bruno or whoever, and then they might actually do something with it. So we do need to do that.
For sure, for sure. And I was having a conversation recently with you know, a musician, and he said to me, I reckon the best songs in the world are in people's you know, recordings on their phones, you know. So
Yeah.
you have that initial idea, and you've gone, okay, I'm going to play that out. Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there.
No, I reckon that there's a lot of truth to that. And I love that idea. I love the idea that possibly the greatest song ever written is just on someone's phone.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it may never come out. You know, there's all, I mean, not that we're massive fans of, is it Tenacious D or is it Jack Black, but the greatest song of the world, it was just a great song. You know, this idea that they played the greatest song of all time, but it was never recorded and we don't remember it, and no one will ever hear it. I love that idea. I mean, Chris and I talk about that. I can imagine, you know, some kid in 1965, and you had a little recorder, recorded some really amazing song, but then it got lost and we'll never hear it. That's the magic of music. It's not like it's a painting and it's waiting to be discovered. If it was just in somebody's head and then they forgot it, it's gone.
Well, we all know Chuck Berry stole Marty McFly's riff to make Johnny B. Good.
That's right.
So we never know.
He's exactly right.
Like, exactly. But yeah, I'm just on top. You guys obviously 60s, 70s fans and the theme. Will we ever get another great riff? Do you ever think we'll ever get another great riff?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly think that. So you've got to have the whole point of being a songwriter, I guess, is to aim for that. It's I agree that it is harder, I think, to come up with that. You know, but at the same time, that's not an excuse. I think there are still a lot of songs and riffs that haven't been written. But I've spoken to Chris a lot about this. We liken songwriting to sort of mining. All right, now in the early days of rock and roll sort of songwriting, the new mind is gold everywhere. You know, it's easier to find. And that's not saying it was an easy process, but now that the mind, you know, a lot of the ideas have been sort of used up, it's harder to find that gem, but they're still there. You know, if you believe that there's no more ideas or no more great riffs, well, what are you doing?
Yeah. I love that
bother
analogy
anymore.
there, man.
So yeah, you have to live in hope that, you have to live in hope that maybe one day you will find some gold.
Yeah.
And the only way you can find that though is to keep playing. You know, I love Keith Richards, the way he describes it. Speaking of riffs, I mean, he's the human riff, right? The way he describes it is you'll be playing on your guitar, just jamming and nothing. And then incoming, out of nowhere, it's just this riff or this idea of a song comes and you don't know where it came from. Again, it's the closest thing to magic that I can think of is songwriting, coming up with a riff like that.
Yeah, Keith Richards had a dream about the riff of Satisfaction. So yeah, you're
Yes.
absolutely right.
We can only be so lucky, bastard. Yes,
Well,
he just
is
dreamt
gifted in a way.
Satisfaction riff.
Only him, eh? Only he would do something like that.
I'm still waiting. Drugs probably have a part to play in that.
He might have not been dreaming, he's probably just been awake.
It was a dream.
Yeah.
Now going forward, guys, like I think, you know, we can all see the light in the end of the tunnel at the moment, you know, after, you know, they're calling it Freedom Day at the moment. And I think when this interview comes out, it'll, you know, we'll be past Freedom Day. But have you guys got many plans?
Well, we're gonna put this interview after, but we've got to play at Frankie's on the 16th. So it's the first Saturday after they reopen at Frankie's Pizza. So we'll be playing there, which is very exciting. We've got an online gig happening on Wednesday now, Wednesday 13th. So there's lots of things coming back and happening, but I think the bigger thing that we ever done as a band is actually happening very soon. And as we said, we always played and record our own stuff until now. And something really cool happened. Maybe Sean can talk us through it.
Yeah, that's right. We've always loved self-producing everything. You know, like I mentioned before, Chris does the mixing and the mastering. All the video clips we've filmed ourselves and edited ourselves. So we like that homegrown approach. But just by fate or whatever it is, Bruno has got in contact with Steve Balby, you know, of Noiseworks, and MySex, and so he has working with him has been just the greatest thing. He's so down to earth, so easy to work with, and the good thing about him too is the attention to detail. He's a perfectionist, so that's not something I am. I mean, I am to an extent, but he really takes it to the next level. So he's producing a couple of songs for us, which is the most exciting thing that's really happened to us. So we can't wait for that. I mean, we've done a bit of recording with him already, but of course, COVID lockdown got in the way of that. So that's one of the things we've had to wait for. So really looking forward to that. So that's going to be the next big thing that comes from Fireglow. Yeah.
Wow, man, that is fantastic. But like, was it a bit of a challenge at first when you first started working with him, or was it just, you know, did it push you guys and, you know, out of your comfort zone a little bit? And, you know, what was that experience kind of like, if we can dive just a little bit deeper?
For me, it was like, well, I knew him because his son goes to school with my kid. So they are in the same class. So I actually knew him before. I never knew that he was Steve Balby. I just knew him as Steve. And then Frankie sends me a video one day, say, Bruno, this guy is awesome, man. You should listen to his stuff. And I see the video clip and I see the kid in there. And I said, bloody hell, this is Lucas' friend. And that's Steve. And I said, oh my God. So I said, okay, I'll go to him and I said, mate, I've got a band. I would like you to maybe produce. Do you produce bands? He goes, yeah, but I have to like it, this and that. And I said, oh, that's fine. I said, well, I don't want the friendship to get in the way. So he was really nice. And when I played to him, he was like, mate, this is amazing. I really love this stuff. And I was like, really? He goes, yes, let's do it. So we started recording. So as you said, it's different approach, because the way we recorded, we went to the studio just to get this sound, the drum sound. The rest we are recording at his place. But the amount of time that we spent just choosing the drums that we're going to use it, how to tune them, and how to make that sound. And we were like, oh my gosh, we never done this, like 3-4 hours, just which snare are we going to use, which kick drum are we going to use, which floor tom. And then when you listen to the drums recorded after, you just go, my gosh, that really paid off. Like, it's unreal. And then you started to understand that's how they pull these, these great records, because there's a lot of work in there, which there's just so much we could do it on our own. And for me especially, it was like I was scared as, because he's a bass player, and I was, and I'm just going, man, I went to his place to record, and I said, well, because he's changed a few things on the drums, and he said, if you want to change on my bass, feel free. He goes, no, man, I love your bass line, just play them. And that made me feel really comfortable, and I laid them, and I listen to them now, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So yeah, for me, it was it's a game changer. I think we are having the best material that we ever had as a band. Yeah.
Oh man, that is awesome. And when will we get a bit of a, when's that going to come out? Do you have any ideas at the moment, or is it just
2030? I think that's when it's due. Hopefully something by the end of the year. But that's the hope. But we don't know. But yeah, the learning experience has been unbelievable. Yeah, he's a great teacher. I mean, in terms of the songwriting, he helped us with the songs as well. I mean, we had the songs written, but he listens to them from an outsider's perspective and has improved the structure of the songs as well. So just can't be any happier, really. He's really easy to work with, and yeah, we're having a really fun time working on these songs with him. So yeah.
Oh man,
I feel like Bruno's not being honest, because where'd you get that story from? Because I got a feeling you went to your son and go, be his friend. I feel like you made that story up just to be humble, but you look like a guy who would do that.
No, we were well, I'm gonna say, Luca is actually in his school even before I was in this band. So I didn't really know. I knew that he was a quirky guy. He looked, so we connected. We talked before, not a lot, but a few times. But he never said anything. He's such a humble guy. I never said anything. I'm a musician or nothing. And I'm not from Australia as well, as you can see from my poor English. So that means I don't know much of the Australian music. Like if he said to me, I'm from Noiseworks, I want to say, what is Noiseworks? Or, because I didn't grow up here. So I didn't know those bands. Now I do know, because I started to listen to the Australian music, and understanding a bit more. But so for me, it was just a funny coincidence, really.
It's a small world. Must be fate.
He lives like a couple of streets from me, so it's even better.
Yeah, there it is. The story, eh? The story gets deeper.
While Paul's touched on the, and you guys and Bruno, you've touched on your kids before playing music. I think that was one of the cool things to see when I came and saw you live is your kids had just got up and just started playing the drums, and it's so small, but we're just doing such a good job. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, they love it, and they put a lot of work in it. So Luca, my big one, is actually playing grade 6 of Trinity already. So he reads drum amazingly. And it's funny, they're very different. So the big one, it's really good and reads really well. The small one has an absolutely earring, and he would copy anything that he listens to, but cannot read really well. But the teacher is like, he can't believe it. He goes, Bruno, sometimes he can't read this. And he says to him, Pedro, stand up. So he goes on the drum kit, plays, and Pedro sit there and play exactly the same thing right after. He just goes like, I can't believe that. Like, it's just, and I say, oh, yeah, me neither. So it's good for me as a bass player to have 2 drums at home.
Luca is due to replace Frankie in 2025.
Yeah.
Well, you just touched on what I wanted to ask there. I was going to ask, are you guys going to be like the Wiggles, not in music, but in the sense that you guys will never, the Fireglow band will never stop. It'll just be retaken over, and
Our next album's called Big Red Car. Actually, we're going to do a cover. Look, something we've talked about. You know, we've only been together since 2018, but fast friends, and I can't see us not making music ever, really. There might be times where it's on and off. We can't tell that, but we're all really good friends, and I don't think that's the case in all bands. It's not always like that. So we've become a little bit like family. So yeah, I certainly don't see us stopping anytime soon. Not even COVID can stop us. So we keep them going.
Oh man, that's good to hear. Like if I feel like if you're a band and you're friends and family from the and you have that dynamic, you're going to be around for a long time. And you're very lucky to have that too, as well. Like that's something.
That's true. That's true. It's a rare thing, and I think we're all smart enough to realize that that when you've got something good, because it's a rare thing. I wonder how many bands just sort of come and go But this feels a bit more special. It's not just a regular band. I'm not saying we're, going to be anything more than that, but, playing with people that you really get along with and care about, well, that's all you can ever ask for. And for Chris and I in particular, the fact that for years we always wished, if only we had a drummer and a bass player who wanted to play with us. But no one wanted to play with us. And maybe because we weren't very good. I don't know, but we never take for granted this idea that we've got this amazing drummer and bass player who like our songs and want to play them. So yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah, man, like that. Just look after it.
Will do.
As Sean said, I've been in a lot of bands, and I've never been in a band that's like this in terms of friendship. Like we respect each other a lot, and there was never a fight or anything. Yeah, we can talk about things and say, I think this way, you think that way. There's a lot of respect, and I think because we are a bit more mature as well, and getting white beard and getting old, but I think that has a lot to do with it. And the fact that I said this to Sean another day, I say, like, in this band, we are friends above anything. So I cannot see us, as he said, stopping making music together, because I believe that we're going to be friends until the last day we live. So, we're always going to be playing music at some sort of level. I don't know how it's going to be, but yeah, hopefully with Fireglow.
Shut up. Seriously.
Come on, hey. Drink your water, man.
You're a gentleman. You're just a gentleman.
I know.
And off the air before we started this interview, I was saying one of the best things about seeing you guys live was not just the music is fantastic, but on top of that, it's like the comedy that you guys, just the bantering and also the way that you're able to, make jokes with the audience. And the fact that you had everyone laughing, Sean, is like, I've been to some like stand-up comedy gigs, and, you're making people laugh effortlessly. You've definitely mastered something there.
Well, thank you. Well, with a face like this, it's not too bad. But yeah, look, as I was saying to you before, I love going to gigs where the band or the performer, whoever it is, engages with the audience. It's nothing worse than, you're in the audience, you think, are they enjoying themselves? Sometimes they take themselves too seriously. And I made mention before that we're not that sort of band. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We do laugh a lot, actually, amongst ourselves. And it can let the audience's guard down a bit. It's like, oh, they're having fun. They're just like us. We can have fun too. I don't think I'm very funny. Bruno is a cracker. Bruno cracks me up. But yeah, that is our approach. Not to take ourselves too seriously, and just make the audience feel part of it, I guess.
Yeah, man. Well, it certainly works. Like, I think watching you guys was the fastest gig I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, it almost felt like it was over because you had, held like the room's attention for the entirety of that you played.
That's really kind of you. Thanks. It's good to know. Maybe not every gig's like that, but that was a particularly good gig. I enjoyed that one. And yeah, that was the gig that Bruno's kids got up. That was a huge highlight. But again, that's that kind of approach where, if you're taking yourself too seriously, you're not going to have your kids come up on stage and play with you. And I think people like that, because a lot of the people in the audience, people are sort of our age, they're not young, like teenage sort of kids. They're people who are just out for a good time, and they like to see the family thing and, having a good time, having a bit of a laugh as well. So that's our approach.
Unless there was any drummers in the audience and they would have probably wanted to quit playing drums after they saw Bruno's kids.
Also funny. that yeah, could be.
All right, guys. Well, I think we've touched bases on everything that I wanted to ask. But before we start to wrap this up, Paul, is there anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say something ages ago when you said when you were told by your teacher that the Beatles were not around, and you said you will not meet Paul. But you've met Paul, but it wasn't Paul. You met me, the Wish version. So she wasn't completely wrong.
Well, there you
I
go.
got Hamish at the wrong time. He's spitting out water as well. So I knew I thought I'd bring that one up before this closes. But yeah, you're right about the kids thing. I saw an AC/DC tribute band where these guys been doing for ages, famous band. They've been friends with Malcolm Young and all that. And I went to the Hard Rock Cafe gig with Hamish, and they had just a table full of their kids. And all they do was sitting there with the arms crossed because I've seen it before. Oh, there's dad at his work. And then you got the guy who plays Angus Young. He's on the table doing Angus Young, and they're just like arms crossed. Like, oh yeah, this is just dad doing his job. That's probably what it's like with you guys, with your kids.
No, because they're getting them up on the stage,
and playing. Yeah.
Those poor kids were like, this is dad. He's doing this. He's done this on Friday.
On a Friday night. Yeah.
Today he's doing it next Thursday again.
Yeah.
But it becomes a bit tricky as well, because I go to gigs now and they go like, can we go? Can we play? I say, listen, it's not every time, calm down. when there is a chance to have it. So it's like they want to come to watch us play, but most of the time we play, nighttime and places that are not suitable for kids. So every time there is a festival or something open air, and that's a big highlight for them because they can see me, and sometimes they hop on the stage for a little bit and we play something with them, and so that's the two sides of it. Yeah.
Well, at least there's no stage fright. Like, at least you've sandpapered that down.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
they get that from Bruno for sure.
Oh, no. I used to shake him. I shake because of Sean. Sean is too tough. There you go. Look at his face. If you get a wrong note, he will slap you. So,
wait till this interview's finished, mate.
I know you're gonna ring me up. I know. Don't worry, Sean.
We'll keep the interview running just in case for evidence. All right.
Yeah, to keep me alive as well.
I'll get Chris on you. Okay.
Oh no! The cage fighter, no, please don't.
How did you end up with the name the cage fighter?
Oh, Chris is huge. Chris is very muscly and a very bulky guy. So me and Frank, we looked at him and said, "Man, he's probably was a cage fighter." And so we don't know the story, but the story says that he actually, beat up McGregor twice. So we're not sure.
We laugh, but you know what? Chris is the strongest in the band, I reckon, by far.
Probably.
Physically, like he works in conservation. He's a conservationist, and so he's
really cool job.
Yeah, he's outside all the time, and chainsaws and axes and all this sort of thing. And I reckon he could chuck Bruno across the room. Frankie, no problem.
I would love to be with like Chris, because I wouldn't have this you know, 30 or 40 kilos extra that I'm trying to lose. I've tried to give him 20, but he didn't want to take it.
You didn't want it? No.
No.
You and me
So-
both, Bruno. I wish I can give weight to other people to lose it for me because I'm not
That's
lazy.
right. I'm trying that hard. I say, Chris, take 20, mate. And he goes, nah, no, it's fine. So no.
Frankie's got nothing. You know, Frankie rides his bike all the time, and he's a drummer, so he's a super fit guy. You know, he might be. He's the eldest in the band, but I reckon he's the fittest. He's crazy.
Well, yeah, he's the fittest because he's single, you know. He wants to look good.
Not a worry in the world.
No, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you never see an overweight drummer, do you? Like I'm just trying to think of one in my head. I just
John
can't.
Bonham was pretty
yeah.
good.
I think towards the end they all got a bit like, you know, if you think about Keith Moon, John Bonham, they all got fat because of the drinking and drugs. So I don't know. I can't see Frankie that much, but maybe we can, you know, give it a try. Yeah. Let's feed him up and see what happens.
Yep.
Poor Frankie.
No, he's a good bloke.
He's a top player. He's a good bloke. He gives us Arnott's biscuits all the time. It's good. Yeah.
No,
Love the Tim Tam.
well, it's good to see that he's feeding you boys. And before we wrap this up, guys, is there anything that you guys want to say before we finish the interview?
I don't know, Bruno. I don't know. Bruno's given a plug for, you know, the gigs that we've got coming up. Yeah, I got nothing else to add. It's been great. It's been great.
Oh, but this interview is going to come up after the gig. So there is a gig that this interview might be able to advertise, which is in the Bank Hotel in Newtown on the 6th of November. So that's after the thing goes live. So if you want to, you know, if you want to see us live, Bank Hotel, Newtown, 6th of November. We're looking forward for this one as well.
Beautiful. Well,
Cool. I didn't know we had that one.
Well, you put in your diary, man.
Bank Hotel. What was the other one? What was it? Botany View. What happened? Is that one happening?
Oh, maybe it's a Botany View. I just got the name of the place.
You better get it right.
It's in Newtown. All right, Botany View. So that's the one.
You better say that one again, Bruno. Because
you better say yourself that.
Okay. What was the date?
6th.
6th of November.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're looking to play at the Botany View Hotel on the 6th of November. So I think that's back on. So looking forward to that. So hopefully that's the next gig after this interview. Should be good.
Perfect, guys. Everybody, thanks for coming on, and everybody go check out Fireglow's music, like and subscribe all their socials, and check them out.
Yeah, and thanks Hamish and Paul for having us. It's been a blast. Yeah, really appreciate you giving us this opportunity, and keep going. It's awesome.
Perfect. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.